2009. I'll bring you to 2009.
Back to a simpler time.
A simpler time when you had a decision between two mall cop comedies with very similar premises, very different tone.
One is a family movie.
Yes, it's a Happy Madison production.
Oh, every second of this movie is a Happy Madison production. The other movie is a much darker movie.
Very dark, very ballsy, shocking. Even for 2009, there was some shocking shit in that movie we'll talk about later.
Basically a dark comedy that kind of veers into more of a psychological, just dark movie in all facets of it as you get through it, with Seth Rogen once again leading the way as the mall cop in question. So if you like mall cop movies made in 2009, this is definitely some content for you.
And depending on which movie you prefer, it says a lot about who you are as a person, I think.
Yeah. Let's dive into to Paul Blart first.
Kevin James is Paul Blart, Mall Cop.
Oh dear God!
It did come out first.
It did come out first. It went into production a couple months earlier, but these movies were always plagued by claims of similarity. We'll just go through a quick rundown first.
Okay.
Paul Blart is a character.
He's a mall cop, and it's going to be hard to explain this movie without talking about the comparisons, because even plot details, like, he's a mall cop, as the title suggests, and he's trying to be part of the police academy, but his weight and his, what's the word?
Is it hypoglycemia?
Hypoglycemia
Yeah.
keeps him from being able to pursue his dream of being an actual cop.
And he wants to be a good cop. He has all the morals set up. He just wants to follow the rules, protect and serve.
Yes.
He says many times throughout the movie, sometimes while riding his Segway and sometimes while jogging vigorously throughout the mall towards the end.
I remember when the movie came out, I felt like at the time it was marketed so high. Like, you'd be watching a TV show and you'd see Paul Blart on his Segway at the bottom of the screen. They pushed that movie hard. It was successful, I imagine.
Yeah.
A lot of fat jokes, obviously. I mean, you would not expect a Kevin James movie not to have fat jokes. That's his shtick.
They play at the weight pretty hard. There's actually a fight scene, if you want to call it a fight, between Paul Blart and a customer
overweight.
who he believes is an overweight woman.
So Paul Blart sees this woman who works at a kiosk. He's obsessed with her, and she's the most boring character ever. I have nothing to say about her because there's nothing written to her. She's just a tool. She's a tool for the movie.
She's a flat character. She doesn't have much to her.
Observe and Report has that same concept, but we'll get to later why that character, that tool in Observe and Report is a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
It works so much better because she actually has a character.
Yeah.
And it kind of changes the direction.
How could you do this to me? I love you, you fucking bitch!
It turns into Die Hard.
Paul Blart very quickly becomes Mall Cop Die Hard.
There are a bunch of thieves that... so one of his training mall cop associates turns the table. He's been working to rob the mall the whole time. And again, we'll get to how that is almost like the same thing with an Observe and Report, but it doesn't work here like it did in Observe and Report.
No.
It's the same idea, but it didn't work.
Yeah, he's trying to pull it off. This guy gets kind of screwed over because it's not the character that presents a problem at first. It's the fact that they just feed him pounds and pounds of garbage dialogue.
Right.
Right. He has all these one-liners about wasting people in terms of killing them and all things like that, which I think is probably due to the PG rating. Somehow this movie booked a PG rating, even though it features Paul Blart getting absolutely plastered off margaritas.
There's a lot of
fight
shit
scenes
that I would not expect in a PG movie. Like there's a lot of gunplay.
Yes.
Which that's, I believe there's a scene where the villain says, "I'm gonna shoot your daughter in the head."
Yeah.
That's PG. I mean, there's scenes where a guy's getting, beat to shit with a tanning bed.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff like that, and it just shows how much pull Adam Sandler has.
Yes. Yeah, which is probably why it did so much better at the box office. This movie had around 25 mil put into it, and it produced hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep.
So this was while not a great movie, a winning formula in terms of making money, which is kind of what this production studio does the best.
He's now John McClane.
They've dubbed him now Renegade Mall Cop, who's in charge of saving the day.
Yeah.
And he kind of does.
And the rest of the movie is really just him fighting parkour villains.
Yes, they do a lot of extreme sports, BMX biking, skateboarding, sometimes unnecessary amounts of parkour.
It's weird.
It's a little too much. I think they really caught on to the parkour craze at that time a little too hard.
Yeah, it doesn't really amount to... I watched the movie for the first time last night, and I'm honestly blanking what happens in most of it.
Yeah. I know that it turns out pretty well, right?
It's not memorable.
They get out eventually because Paul Blart's high school nemesis turns out to be the SWAT team leader, who then deals the final blow to the mission by going as a double agent, working for the criminals the whole entire time. So the criminals are trying to flee on a plane to the Cayman Islands, the Grand Cayman, something like that.
Yeah.
And the SWAT investigator basically stops them and says, "Hey, turns out I'm a bad guy," and whips out a gun and is then shot.
It's completely
by different chief
unnecessary.
police. Yeah.
He's a bad guy for 30 seconds. Why?
Because they had to find a way to put a final little twist in there.
Yeah.
They had to connect Paul Blart being bullied as a child to him overcoming his obstacles now. Feel good.
Yeah, even though he already kind of did it in a way.
No, not enough. He didn't do it enough, okay? He needed more of it.
He needed more.
He needed more.
So Paul Blart, it's not bad. I don't hate it. It's fine for what it's supposed to be. It's good for the kids. It's for the children.
I think it is.
It's fine. It's not hilarious, but there are some parts that I could see people laughing at.
The fact he spends most of his time on a Segway and there's a Coca-Cola product placement 6 or 7 times throughout the movie. There's a lot of that. It's
a Happy Madison. You're gonna get Coca-Cola product placement. You're gonna get Sony product placement. That's the way it goes.
Gave a nice little shout out to Rainforest Cafe too to try to help him out there a little bit.
Yeah,
that was the whole Rambo scene.
And I kind of forgot it was Happy Madison until I saw the logo at the front of the movie and like, oh, here we go.
Yep.
But for a Happy Madison movie, this is pretty good.
Yes, given the recent track record of Father of the Year, Jack and Jill, just so many movies that should never have been made that still made a little bit of money. Mm-hmm. But that's what we got. Observe and Report, personally, a much better movie in my opinion.
Observe and Report is one of my favorite movies. I think it's very simple, but it's very dark. It's hilarious. The movie's hilarious.
It keeps you on your toes the whole time. You don't really know what to expect, honestly, the first time you watch it.
It's a weird, wild little movie that went completely under the radar, and I think that's mostly because of Paul Blart. It didn't have its own identity. It was the other Mall Cop movie. And in my opinion, it's the better Mall Cop movie.
Essentially what happens here is Paul Blart comes out, Observe and Report comes out shortly after. Paul Blart makes much more money, much more revenue.
Observe and Report was rated R as well.
Yes.
So that's gonna obviously there's gonna be a difference there. This is a hard R.
Yes.
Like, they really push it. Some of the things that happen in this movie
that could not happen today.
Couldn't happen today, and was still shocking for me back then. There's a lot of shock humor.
Yes, but it's got some elements here of your dark main character. You're not really sure if he's good or bad for a minute here, but he turns out to have good intentions in the long run. However, he's not a very nice guy in general. He kind of has power-hungry motives when he wants to become a cop.
Ronnie Barnhart is a mall cop in... Did we figure out where it is?
They shot it in New Mexico, so I'm guessing more southern.
Okay. He's a mall cop, and he wants, just like Paul Blart, he wants to become a real cop. Paul Blart's problem with joining it, or the reason why he can't get in, is because of his he's obese, he can't physically do the training.
The hypoglycemia.
And the hypoglycemia.
He needs sugar to have energy at all times, and if he does not, he will pass out several times.
Yep. The reason why Ronnie can't be a real cop is because he has bipolar. He's bipolar, and it's very manic and very extreme.
He doesn't pass the psychological part, right?
He doesn't
passes the physical part, right?
I think he passes the physical part, yeah. And we figure out that this guy is a badass.
He
like,
can
he'll
fight.
fuck you up.
He can, in fact, fight. There's when he's trying to become a real cop, when Ray Liotta's character tries to kind of screw him over.
Ray Liotta in this
Yeah.
movie
he's
is so well used.
He uses every bit of his character acting
Yes.
skills, and it pays off in spades.
I hate you. I hate you so much, you fucking faggot. And newsflash, you're a fucking rent-a-cop. You might think you're a real cop, but you're not. You know why? Because you're a fucking retard.
He tries to drop off Ronnie into I guess we would say, a kind of a dirtier area in terms of what's upkept, and it's got sort of a criminal presence there.
Yes,
right?
The great Danny McBride cameo.
Danny McBride as the leader of the block gang
Yes.
kind of walks up on him. They challenge him around.
Just so many well-used, like the way they use Patton Oswalt. He's such an asshole.
Patton Oswalt used incredibly well in this movie.
Hilarious.
I would say it also helps Ronnie out that his love interests are much more complicated than Paul Blart's, and I think that gives him more depth as a character too. He goes after, in the beginning, Anna Faris, makeup counter.
So she
employee at
is,
the mall?
I guess, the equivalent, or starting, what would seem to be the equivalent of the Plain Jane from.
Yeah, so in Paul Blart,
Blart.
she has a weave business, a hair extension business, and a kiosk.
right.
And then in Observe and Report, Anna Faris runs the makeup section. So we definitely
Also a
have some
kiosk.
similarities. Yes, also a small kiosk.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really work out in the same sort of romantic way. There is not the classic up, conflict and then a resolution with this love interest. This one is a far different case, and that's one of the things we talked about before. Definitely not compatible with today.
She turns out just being a wild bimbo. Is that the word?
I think she just wants to have fun, and I think
Yeah.
Ronnie has other ideas, and I think that eventually when they go out on their date and what happens after, which is not great. It's just not,
There's a date rape scene in this movie.
Yeah. It's at the time, people, it was pretty controversial too, and I mean it's even more so today. But
it's shocking. Like watching
Yeah.
it now is like how you wouldn't. Any movie that tried to do that would try to do that today would not.
Yeah.
There'd be articles. People would be furious.
Ronnie is his own hero. He tries to be. He has all this darkness inside him.
And-
he lives with his mom, who is more of an alcoholic than Kevin James's nice, supportive mother, which obviously sets him on kind of a rickety road here. No father around, and he's just trying to make things happen for himself.
There's another similarity. He lives with his mother.
Yep. Yeah, that was. I mean, he got very, very similar elements here, I should say.
So many. Like it's. I didn't realize how many there would be, but it really stacks up.
Yeah. Something else that Observe and Report definitely has similar, but it takes the clear advantage in my mind, is the sidekick turned evil.
That's a big one. But also, it works so well in Observe and Report.
So Michael Pena's character is his second in command, correct?
Yes.
He's supposed to be the
Yes.
kind of the delegate, right?
Yep.
He's the lieutenant for him.
He he takes a little cash from the safe every night.
Yeah,
It's an ongoing thing.
he keeps skimming off the top. Some robberies happen, some things go missing, and the culprit actually ends up being Michael Pena's character, who is hilarious, has a lot of great lines.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Ronnie. There's nothing good about this at all.
Ronnie's funny vehicle equivalent is the little, not golf cart, but whatever it is.
Yeah, rather
they
than
do a lot of things with that.
Instead of a Segway, he has like a Honda motorbike, and he also has that golf cart. Again, advantage Observe and Report here, because it is not just him scooting around in a Segway doing things in a haphazard manner that the audience can say, "Oh shucks, he tried." It's not the same kind of idea.
And in Paul Blart, he's on the Segway through almost the entire movie. So it's like, how long can that be funny? It wears off very quickly.
Exactly.
Scenes where he gets declined from joining the police academy,
Yep.
they actually are heavy. Like, they actually do hit. We do feel sad for this guy.
Yeah, when Paul Blart doesn't get into the police academy, it's basically just, Mom, can I have some pie? I'll be fine in the morning, which is, not totally...
Everything's
not totally,
so light.
Yeah, it's just so like, it's okay. I'm Paul Blart. I'll have some pie. It'll be better. Where Observe and Report, you kind of feel like this is all the guy's got right now.
Even though the character's an idiot,
Yes.
and even though he's ridiculous and he's very jokey,
Yeah.
It is sad when something doesn't happen to him.
Yes. Something that you can feel, no matter how twisted he gets, you still have that sort of human connection in there.
I thought this was gonna be kind of funny, but it's actually kind of sad, so I'll catch you later, Harrison.
There is a flasher at the mall, and he is the greatest threat to Ronnie, and Ronnie has to catch this pervert that nobody else really takes seriously.
Yeah, it's this kind of chubby guy who runs around in a trench coat, flashing innocent women in the parking lot.
You see his flaccid dick quite a bit. You see a lot of.
This is the underlying antagonist. You think it's a red herring in the beginning, but it all comes full circle at some point.
It does.
Things really get tighter on this case as his love interest, Anna Faris, becomes a victim of the flasher.
Touch Daddy's dick.
One of the final kind of more heroic scenes from Ronnie is when he approaches the pretzel counter in which his other love interest works, and she's being treated very unfairly by Patton Oswalt, her boss.
Yeah. She's the director's wife. I don't know if you knew that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a cool tidbit.
Yeah.
He kind of steps in and honestly deals a pretty awesome sequence of events here.
You can't come back here.
Oh, get in there! No, get in there! Get in there! You like making fun of people? I don't. No. You like making fun of people?
I love that scene. Do you remember that one, Tyler? The one where he rolls up on Patton Oswalt and beats the fuck out of him.
We get a great fight scene. It's great. It's just a great piece of film.
Yeah.
For real.
It is. Because he's not going to win, but the pure energy behind him and the desire to do this, the rage inside him.
It's beautifully done.
Yeah.
And at the very end of both movies, they decline joining the police. But it's shown in very different ways. In Paul Blart, it's just, nah, thanks, I don't really want to join the police. And Observe and Report, it's fuck you, fuck the police.
It's fuck the establishment. I don't think I can operate the way I want to if I'm under your rules. Also, Ronnie is insane.
And those two differences are great examples of every difference.
Yes.
Between the movies.
Just one thing that I noticed about both these movies that is definitely a real world type connection. Mall cops and security guards hate being called mall cops and security guards. They insist on the title of security officer, as Paul Blart suggested, and in general it's kind of seen as a more diminutive status than the police, which is why both movies love to use the clash between authority. There's a whole stack of authority in these movies.
Observe and Report feels like a movie made by a filmmaker who had an idea. It feels like somebody made it with a vision. Paul Blart Mall Cop feels like a way to get money, which is what it was. It's an Adam Sandler dumb comedy.
It feels like Kevin James had a fun time writing a goofy script that reeled in several millions of dollars.
It's nothing that would last the test of time for any of the right reasons.
No, and that's kind of what cheapens Observe and Report about Mall Cop, which it kind of annoys some, is that the idea that these movies came out at the same time and were about the same subject matter, albeit carried out much differently, is forever going to link them.
Yes, those are the Mall Cop movies.
There's one weird moment in Paul Blart, which I don't know if it was a diss towards Observe and Report or not.
Oh yes,
because
yes.
I mean, both movies knew of each other, and there's one scene where Paul Blart is exiting the office of the mall cops, and he's on his Segway, and he kind of gives a tap to the top of the doorway, sort of in like a pump up sort of manner, and the message at the top of the doorway includes Observe and Report.
They got Steve Rannazzisi in it. Paul Blart Mall Cop is the closest Steve Rannazzisi ever got to 9/11. Do you have a quippy way to end it?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to I
was trying to think of an analogy. Like Paul Blart is McDonald's. observe and report is.
We can do something like that. We can come up with a couple of those.